and thank you for tuning in to the AAU TV Midweek News, coming to you from the headquarters of the Association of African Universities in Accra, Ghana. My name is Lydia Nyame. With me in the studio are
and my name is Ajiman Ochrodako.
And now the headlines on higher education. Tanzanian university grapple with lecturer shortage. And again, graduate employability tops priority list at Lagos conference.
And in our health news, consuming diet with more fish fat, less vegetable oil, reduces migraine headaches, steady finds. And also having a good listener improves your brain health.
We're glad you make time to join us on the AAU Midweek News. Don't go anywhere. We're bringing more news after the short break. Stay with us.
Welcome to GTP Health and Safety Corner. If you feel like stepping out, remember social distancing. You might just save a life. Rock at home, stay at home. Stay safe. Wash your hands with soap under running water. Spaced out but still in touch. Check in on your loved ones and stay safe. GTP, timeless.
Welcome back from the break. And university heads in Tanzania have voiced out concerns over the shortage of qualified lecturers. This revelation was made during a meeting that brought together the government, university vice-chancellors and key education stakeholders in Dar es Salaam.
The vice-chancellor of Mzumbe University, Professor Lugano Kusuluka, said the problem of lecturer shortage in Tanzania remains unsolved despite many appeals. Responding to the request, the Minister of Education, Science, Technology and Vocational Training, Professor Joyce Indalichako, mentioned that the problem was well documented and that there was an allocation of funds that would provide scholarships to 1,000 academics and make it possible for them to qualify for university teaching. A 2017 report by the Tanzania Higher Learning Institutions Trade Union had put the shortage of academic staff in the country's higher education institutions at 44%. Figures from Tanzania Commission of Universities show that the number of university academic staff increased from 6,000 to 228 in 2019 to 7,187 in 2020. At the same time, student enrollment has increased by an average of 4.7% annually.
Well, there we have it. Tanzania universities highlighting a continental issue, an issue that isn't just Tanzania alone that is suffering from. A lot of African countries are having problems with lecturer shortage. But let's first of all discuss the average or standard student to lecturer ratio in our higher education institutions.
First of all, I would say, speaking from a layman's point of view, student-lecturer ratio simply means a number of students to a lecturer in the university. Okay. So, for instance, if the student-lecturer ratio is 5:1, then that means 5 students to 1 lecturer in the university. And also, it is important to note that the student-lecturer ratio is very important as it helps in making our education a quality one, and it's also captured in our SDG Goal 4. Okay. So in a situation where you have a large number of students and you have few number of lecturers, it becomes very difficult for lecturers to be able to handle the student in a way that they don't have the time to get for each student to be able to solve their issues and their problems. And that becomes a problem for teachers in the universities. Certainly. So according to research, the recommended ratio is 30:1. So 30 students to 1 lecturer.
That's the standard.
The standard that is accepted in universities. But now in our universities is something else. I think Ajima will add more to it.
Okay. I think looking at the best practices, the big universities in the US, like the Harvard universities, looking at very competitive ratios that's 20:1, 70:1, 60:1, compared to some other ratios like 100:1. You can find that somewhere on the African continent. But I want to mention something that you want to mention about the SDG goal number 4, which talks about quality education. And digging deep into it, I found that there are targets for each SDG, and the target number 4C for the goal 4 talks about the increase in the supply of quality teachers or quality lecturers in developing countries. And looking at this situation, how then do we develop that quality of lecturers with this condition? In this case, where we are not producing that much.
Yes.
For some reasons, we are battling with the issues of gross enrollment ratio, where we're unable to massify higher education in Africa. We have few students who are advancing to tertiary education, whilst many of them are behind. This is really disturbing the quality of lectures we're bringing out. So if you don't train a lot, how then you get a lot to take care of the students? So I think we'll be talking more about the other challenges and how that can also affect the issue.
You know, I was glad when Jemima said the average ratio is 30:1. But some institutions out there are doing marvelously well. Because an institution like Harvard, for instance, has the student to lecturer ratio to be 7:1.
That's really
We
good.
have Yale University going with 6:1.
Sure.
And it is pathetic. I have some figures here from some universities in Tanzania, and it says, as of 2020, education programs enrolled 54,156 students against 524 lecturers. If you do the math, this is basically 103:1
lecturer.
What at all aren't we doing right in Africa?
Well, I believe, I just want to just take a cue for what we saw in the article from Tanzania. In 2020, they had 51,489 students compared to 700 lecturers at the moment. You can see the huge gap. How can 708 lecturers handle a population of 51,489 students?
That's a lot.
We are looking at the inadequate infrastructure capacity in our education institutions. I mean, if you really want to train more lecturers or more teachers, then you need to have that infrastructural capacity of a sort to be able to train them more. We don't have that capacity to expand the range of training these teachers. And we are down in expertise. We say that we have brain drain. Yeah, we train them. The least we train are drained away because they see better offers flying overseas, whilst we give very poor conditions, working conditions of service. And the fear to massify with less emphasis on quality. You are massifying education, but you are looking at quality. For example, the issue of law professionals in Africa. We can't train so many law professionals because we think that they are not qualified. Some qualify, but the institutional capacity is very low. They can't consume them all. So we complain that, we don't have enough lawyers in the country. We don't have enough doctors or professionals of a sort. But we also don't have the capacity to train a lot of them. What stops us? So we lack that deliberate will to expand our institutions and make sure that we are massifying education and we are also keeping a close eye on quality. That is the way to go.
Okay, you know, Jemima has mentioned a few causes, or let me say the primary cause of this shortage of lecture, but do you have anything else you'd want to add?
I would say one is the funds. You know, most lecturers would like to actually attain their highest level of education, which is the PhD, to be able to get there and teach in the lecture classrooms. But, you know, along the line, it's the funds to pursue the education to that level sometimes becomes difficult. So some lecturers would even stop as early as after attaining their bachelor's degree. They leave it right there, and continuing becomes a problem. So I think another way is the funds for people to get there. But I think if government would make available some scholarship programs, like the Tanzanian government is offering 1,000 scholarships, I believe lecturer shortage would be addressed, because lecturers will be able to attain that level of education that they need.
You know, talking about this 1,000 scholarships, you know, I think it's about time Africans, I think it's about time we just suggest solutions and rather implement it. There's an implementation gap in Africa. And until we decide or make a conscious effort to bridge that gap, I think we will keep on talking about problems and suggesting solutions.
Yes, that's true.
It's quite sad. Ajuman, over to you.
In our next story, African universities must undertake strategic collaborations, boost innovation, and develop entrepreneurial initiatives targeting the needs of students to remain relevant in the future at this year's UNILAG International Week 2021.
The issue of graduate employability formed the core of discussions when public and private sector tertiary education experts gathered over Zoom and in person to discuss the future of African universities at the second edition of the University of Lagos UNILAG International Week Conference. The conference united researchers, policymakers, regulatory and funding agencies, educational institutions and businesses to explore ways to enhance research collaborations, promoting economic development through speeches and panel discussion. The 3-day on and offline blended event from October 12 to 14th had speakers highlighting the need for African universities to take a more consumer-centric approach, focusing on what students need to learn in a changing world, preserving education relevance. The employability of graduates leaving African universities, along with how universities can promote entrepreneurship, was a major talking point. Gone are the days when you finish from the university and just get a job, Professor Oluwatoyin Ogundipe, the Vice-Chancellor of UNILAG, told University World News. Now, what we are telling our students is that right from the time you are in the university will register companies for you and the university will get the startup grant for you to start something. In 2020, the UNILAG Senate approved an entrepreneurship curriculum for the university. Students joining the university in 2021 and henceforth will have to take a mandatory model on entrepreneurship before they graduate. Professor Ayodele Achinuwa, the Deputy Vice-Chancellor, Development Services, University of Lagos, told event participants. Achinuwa explained how the university has opened an entrepreneurship and skills development center, which is committed to the incubation of business ideas submitted by students. The university has pledged to register businesses as supporters of such projects, and the center will take up the responsibility of patenting innovation.
No, back to us. We're really trying to just find a way with graduate unemployment. This issue has been with us for a very long time. Yeah. Let me tell you, Mama, what is the issue with graduate unemployment or employability in Africa?
First of all, I'll say graduate employability makes us understand that there are a set of skills, characteristics, and personal understanding that graduates are to obtain that would help them prepare more for the outside market. And these issues of graduate employability stands on several factors. I'll mention a few. One is poor socioeconomic status, poor education system, insufficient exposure of graduates to the actual world of work. And you know, currently most undergraduate and postgraduate university student, let me say, programs do not include internship and industrial attachment. There are schools that do not offer internship opportunities or even advise their students to go in for internship work or do something during their long vacation. Sure. And I think that is one major factor that we should look at. Whilst in school, students are made to learn a lot. So through internship programs, some even are able to get skills that they never knew they had. And through that, I think they can also engage or build something for themselves after school, but not to wait for someone to actually employ them before they get to the corporate.
Taking a cue from Jemima's submission, I think personally there's a lot of questions I would want to ask the various universities in Africa. But I think in order to address this issue, we need to first of all find out where the problem is coming from. Is it from the students? Is it the universities? Or is it a collective problem? Because I ask myself, are universities in Africa producing graduates who have the appropriate skill set, understanding, and personal attributes to position themselves in the place that makes them, in a place that makes it possible for them to acquire a job, and not just acquiring a job, but succeeding at it. You can acquire the job, but are you really going to excel? I think it's sad because according to a ranking by Bloomberg in just a few months ago, South Africa tops the charts with unemployment rate of 34.4%, followed by Namibia. We have Nigeria, Angola, Mozambique, Lesotho. I mean, you can go on and on and on. And it's sad because the percentages are that close. So what is the point in educating students when they only have to come out unemployed? The rate of unemployment in Africa is sad, and I think it really has to be addressed, not just by being talked about, but something has to be done. Something really has to be done.
You know, I'm compelled to cite some universities who are really walking the talk, and I must sincerely say, not my university per se, but and other universities like the Ashesi University.
Okay.
Ashesi does something very competitive that I think that if other universities in Africa per se would want to pay attention to their mode of running the university, it would really help curb the issue of graduate unemployability. Ashesi has a lot of strategic alliances.
Okay.
Now they have partnerships with the big names in the States, the IBMs, the Microsofts, and each year they have their graduates traveling all the way to these institutions for internships.
Oh, that's
and they don't come back. They stay, and then they also get jobs over there. And the connection is, the network is stronger.
Massive,
Each year, students go through exchange programs. How many universities in Africa are doing this, are having industrial exchange programs? Well, or let's say long-term alliances with institutions, industries, so you can go and work for some time. And they have collaborations, lots of them. And one unique thing is that there's this deliberate entrepreneurial curricula they are running. If you are there, by now you should be running a dummy, I won't say a dummy business, but you are running something, a business of a sort.
Okay.
And you are just doing exactly what we do on the field. So when you go to the field and you're asked to prepare an account, you do exactly that because you've been doing the same thing on campus and presenting on these things each and every day.
That's true.
But on the other hand, other universities, you go, you read lots of books, lots of tests, and then you're asked to prepare a simple account, and then you can't prepare. Why? Because you've been deprived of having a personal view of what happens on the field, because things are dynamic on the field.
Exactly.
And whilst things are quite monotonous in the institutions, which one do you want to choose? The future of the students is in the hands of the university, I would say.
Yes.
Sometimes they say it's in your hands as a student. You must develop yourself, you must position yourself. Oh yes, that is there. But the strategic act must be set right. And that is from the university doing their work right. Has there been any graduate employability research by any university to assess why is it that my students are not getting jobs right after graduation? Are we weak in industrial partnership? Then perhaps we have to intensify, build more collaborations, create more partnerships. If you haven't done that as a university in Africa, then you are the reason why your students are not getting jobs.
Yeah, honestly, industrial partnership is the way to go. Because I chanced on this article, I mean, a few days ago, and it mentioned a few ways, I mean, universities can foster graduate employability. And it will surprise you that almost everything in the article just kept pointing to developing university industry partnership. I mean, it mentioned other points that says universities must align the education with the country's development plans. There has to be regular university curriculum reviews, and then strengthening the quality assurance. But I think if universities would start with industry partnership, at least we can get somewhere. But then also students also have a role to play. It will surprise you that some students just go to school and they think the only thing they need to do is to just study their books, write their exam, and come home. But students must take on leadership positions. You must pursue it. You must engage yourself in social activities, because by doing this, you build your social skills. You build your communication skills and what have you. And these are the things organizations are looking for. So while we are telling universities to do the right thing, I think we should equally encourage the students to also do the right thing. You should meet the universities halfway, because in the end, it is you, the student, who ends up benefiting on the job market.
No, I agree with you eventually, but I still want to put it back to the universities that students would be what they want to be if you direct them.
But
yes.
Okay, so I want to ask you a question. If the universities should put in activities that is helping the student, and the student is not participating, the university is actually doing their part. So the students have to also do their part, as Lydia said. They have to.
You can present a bag of gold to someone, put it in front of them, but if they decide not to pick it up,
of course,
it's just an item.
You see,
students must make a conscious effort.
It's less a handful of cases where you have students who have all the opportunity for them to succeed, but don't make the best out of it. Only a few.
Are you sure?
Yeah, but some universities don't even have that structure.
I will only agree if you can scientifically prove this, because
exactly.
I completely disagree
with statistics.
Exactly.
It's true.
That's going on.
It's true.
My point is that some universities don't even have the structures you are bringing on board.
So now, what about the ones that have it and the students are not helping?
They are doing well.
And are you sure it's all students that are helping that?
Would you bypass all the leadership, entrepreneur incubation, and other structures and institutions just to help you grow?
You haven't met some students before. You can't.
Oh yeah, I know.
You can't actually talk for all students.
It seems Jemima is talking from experience. So let's just
no.
All I want to say is that some of the things we mentioned over here are quite strategic.
Well,
and students don't have the opportunity to contribute to these things.
Okay.
They have to be manned by institutional management. Only when they do these things that students will also appreciate and benefit from. Because eventually...
See, we are not disputing what you're saying, okay? But it will also surprise you to know that some students are sometimes given the opportunity to even do their internships in certain organization, and they have no idea on networking. Having been given the opportunity to even, you don't even know how to network.
No, this comes to the issue of networking. What is networking? It's all about just building good, healthy, and very relevant contacts that you need
exactly
for yourself or for your future. All these things have to be taught. Why are we there in the first place? Students are in the universities to be trained and developed. You see, you have to understand from my point that we are here for a whole new advancement we have not gotten. If we had it, well, why were we here? We are here because we need the advancement.
That's what I'm trying to make you understand, that just going to the university isn't just about you being in the lecture hall.
Exactly.
Every single activity contributes to your education.
Exactly.
So if there are social activities, I think that is the best place to actually learn how to network.
Exactly.
A lecturer can teach you whatever he has to, but you need to practicalize it. Exactly. But here's a case you're in school and...
Good enough. See, the point you're making is on point. All these social activities are very good to help develop us, to spur opportunities. Unfortunately, for some cases, these initiatives are not existent. So you, as a single individual or student, have to find your way out there and make it for yourself. But I'm saying that if we had all these alliances, institutional, how do you say, university.
I can clearly see you are passionate about this, but I think this is the point where we take the discussion to our comment section on social media and continue.
Whose fault is it for you being unemployed? Is it the university or yourself? And let's see what happens.
Exactly.
Over to you, Jemima.
So we'll go for a quick break, and when we come back, we'll continue with health news.
Welcome to GTP Health and Safety Corner. If you feel like stepping out, remember social distancing. You might just save a life. Rock at home, stay at home, stay safe. Wash your hands with soap and running water. Spaced out but still in touch. Check in on your loved ones and stay safe. GTP, timeless.
So moving on to our health news. A diet higher in fatty fish help frequent migraine sufferers reduce their monthly number of headaches and intensity of pain compared to participants on a diet higher in vegetable-based fat and oil, according to a new study.
A diet higher in fatty fish helped frequent migraine sufferers reduce their monthly number of headaches and intensity of pain compared to participants on a diet higher in vegetable-based fats and oils, according to a new study. The findings by a team of researchers from the National Institute of Aging (NIA) and the National Institute on Alcohol Abuse and Alcoholism (NIIA) and part of the National Institute of Health and the University of North Carolina UNC at Chapel Hill were published in the July 3rd issue of the BMJ. This study of 182 adults with frequent migraines expanded on the team's previous work on the impact of linoleic acid and chronic pain. Linoleic acid is a polyunsaturated fatty acid commonly derived in the American diet from corn, soybean, and other similar oils, as well as some nuts and seeds. In a 16-week dietary intervention, participants were randomly assigned to one of the 3 healthy diet plans. Participants all received meal kits that included fish, vegetables, hummus, salads, and breakfast items. One group received meals that had high levels of fatty fish or oils from fatty fish and lowered linoleic acid. A second group received meals that had high levels of fatty fish and higher linoleic acid. The third group received meals with high linoleic acid and lower levels of fatty fish to mimic average U.S. intakes. The diet lower in vegetable oil and higher in fatty fish produced between 30% and 40% reductions in total headache hours per day, severe headache hours per day, and overall headache days per month compared to the control group. Blood samples from this group of participants also had lower levels of pain-related lipids. Despite the reduction in headache frequency and pain, these same participants reported only minor improvements in migraine-related overall quality of life compared to other groups in the study.
That is an interesting one. But first of all, I would want us to discuss what migraine is and how people develop migraine. Lydia, would you like to start with us?
You are putting me on the spot. I think you should have gotten me a lab coat or something. So, anyways, migraine is a common neurological disease that causes a variety of symptoms. Most of it happens with throbbing and pulsing, headache. Most times it happens on one side of the head. It could be the left, the right, the back. I mean, it happens. And most likely, migraines are most likely to get worse with physical activity, with light, with sound, and with smell. And also it may last for 4 hours to 3 to 4 days. And then it is triggered by stress, hormonal changes, exercise, and then sometimes the food you take in.
Ajuman.
Yeah, I think it's similar to what Lydia has just shared with us. A headache, which is quite intense, and with virus as well, accompanied by some signs of nausea and sensitivity to light. Basically, the starting is that chronic pain is quite unbearable. Migraine seems to be one of them.
That's true. Ajman, I want us to clarify the fat variants in fish fat and vegetable oil.
Yeah. We have the omega-3 and omega-6 fatty acids. These two are known for their features in terms of polyunsaturated and monosaturated. But looking at exactly the role that omega-3 fatty acids play in reducing migraines, there's the issue here. According to research done by some scientists, they discovered that a diet which is rich in omega-3 fatty acids could reduce migraines. And we look at what exactly does omega-3 fatty acids possess that makes it quite able to reduce migraines. We checking with the functions of omega-3 fatty acids. We look at the repairing of cell walls in the human body, keeping your heart and your lungs healthy, keeping your blood vessels also on form, and also ensuring that your immune systems are working effectively. Looking at these functions, then perhaps I may want to side with the study that omega-3 fatty acids go a long way to reduce migraines. But there are some people too who are not so, they are allergic to fats. Or even to fish meals. And if these people have migraines, then what do? So some people don't consume salmon because they are also triggered with the amount of fatty acids contained in them. But some can take tuna. So I mean, it's advised that if you're not a fish person, then perhaps in your breakfast or any diet you want to consume, just sprinkle a couple of these fatty fishes or oil fishes is on your food, and a little bit of them, just to consume it and get that little bit of fatty acids in your body to curb migraines.
Yes, that's true. So we'll move on to our second health news story. Researchers find having someone to listen to you when you need to talk associated with greater cognitive resilience.
Supportive social interactions in adulthood are important for your ability to stave off cognitive decline despite brain aging or neuropathological changes such as those present in Alzheimer's disease, a new study finds. In the study, researchers observed that simply having someone available most or all the time whom you can count on to listen to you when you need to talk is associated with greater cognitive resilience, a measure of your brain's ability to function better than would be expected for the amount of physical aging or disease-related changes in the brain, which many neurologists believe can be boosted by engaging in mentally stimulating activities, physical exercise, and positive social interactions. An estimated 5 million Americans are living with Alzheimer's disease, a progressive condition that affects mostly those over 65 and interferes with memory, language, decision-making, and the ability to live independently. A researcher by name, Salinas, says, while the disease usually affects an older population, the results of the study indicates that people younger than 65 would benefit from taking stock of their social support. For every unit of decline in the brain volume, individuals in their 40s and 50s with low listener availability had a cognitive age that was 4 years older than those with higher listening availability. Salinas also recommends that physicians consider adding this question to the standard social history portion of a patient's interview, asking patients whether they have access to someone they can count on to listen to them when they need to talk. Loneliness is one of the many symptoms of depression and has other health implications for patients, says Salinas.
This is really interesting. Actually, the story is trying to tell us that when you have someone giving you that attention when you are talking, it helps build your brain. First of all, what is the feeling like when you have someone paying attention to you when you have a problem you are sharing with them?
Well, I mean, personally, I think when talking to someone and you know and you feel the person is listening to you, you're able to freely express yourself. I may come to you to talk to you, but if I feel you're not really listening, I may probably cut it short. I may probably not give you all the details. So having someone to talk to you, having someone to talk to and knowing that that person is listening to you helps you open up. And in opening up, you're able to share your problems. You release stress. So it's actually a very good feeling. I really hope everyone finds someone they can talk to and they know they are listening.
Yes,
this reminds me of this court case that a witness was in the witness box and was just testifying to a case, and the judge had his pen on the paper like this and was just nodding his head. So at every point he was nodding, and I think the witness was able to say more. To the benefit of the case because the judge was nodding and also giving eye contact, and that helped him to bring more out of him. So I believe that it helps people mentally or psychologically. We are able to share more, as Lydia mentioned, and feel more comfortable expressing ourselves if we know or if we feel that someone is really listening to us very well. And I'm not a relationship doctor, all right, but don't see me for one. But I think that even in relationships, if you're with your partner and then you interact with her, or you show signs of listening to her needs, tall list of matters. I know women have issues. They tell you A, B, C, D, and then you keep nodding, you talk, you give back. Okay, I hear, I understand you. You contribute back. It builds that confidence. It makes her feel trusted or make more secured.
Exactly.
So I've got someone who listens to me. It works. It works.
But what do you think is the relationship between good listening and your brain health as an individual?
I think that it is more psychologically, and also its social effects on every human being. Because if I think that someone listens to what I tell them, I'm more comfortable and more confident in living because at least I know somebody knows my issues, so I'm not bearing them alone.
Exactly.
But if I live alone and then I tend to always harbor my own issues in me, I tend to be a bit I go cycle. We call something soliloquy or solitude when you talk to yourself. So because there's no one to listen to you, so you ask your own questions, and you answer your own stuff, and then you ask your furniture. Yeah. Am I wrong? Am I right? Like because you have no one to help you. So
that's true.
There's a relationship where we are able to feel better. We're able to live sound lives and balanced lives if we feel that we have people who listen to us and make us feel that we're all right by just listening to us.
Yeah. Well, that is all for the news, and in wrapping up, let's take a quick recap of the headlines. On higher education, Tanzanian university grapple with lecturer shortage, and also graduate employability tops priority list at Lagos conference.
And in our health news, consuming diet with more fish fat, less vegetable oil reduces migraine headaches, steady finds. And also having a good listener improves your brain health.
And now thank you very much for staying with the AAU TV news team as we keep you informed. My name is Lydia Nyame.
And I am Jimai Madaladem Duche.
My name is Ajiman Ochudako, and we're glad you made time to watch us on the AAU Midweek News. Keep watching our programs. Have a nice day. Keep safe. Bye. Hello there, and welcome to another insightful episode of African Student Voices. And I want to begin with this write-up. It says that arise Ghana youth arise African youth for your continent, because this continent actually demands your devotion, your effort, and your might. There's no need for us to engage ourselves in any other activity which is irrelevant and will not contribute positively to the continent, but rather put in all efforts to drive the continent forward. And here on African Student Voices, brought to you by the Association of African Universities, we are looking forward to talk about turning the youth into peace builders. Realize that so much of war in Africa is engineered, is spearheaded by the youth, the young people. And what have we done to deserve this? What is the reason why we do this? And what inspires us to destroy our own country's resources and efforts all to the ground because of war? We'll find this out when we go for this quick pause and come back. My name is Ajiman Ochudako, and please stay tuned, don't go anywhere. All right, so welcome back. If you just joined us, it's African Student Voice on AAU TV, and we're discussing turning the youth of Africa into peace builders. Whether you were the lit or unfortunately you didn't get the opportunity to go to school, so you're an illiterate. No matter who you may be, we are going to talk about how we can turn every one of us, myself, you, into a peace builder. And with me to talk about this, to begin is Deborah Ofusua Akon, SR Secretary for the CAF University in Ghana, and also I have with me Mr. Alhassan Kuraboso Mahama, SRC President for the Islamic University of Ghana. Nice people, you are welcome to African Student Voices.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Great. You know, I could have called anybody amongst the many, but you are the great, wonderful people I need on this set because you are passionate about peace building. And I know anybody out there is also that's into peace building too. So I know they represent the entire African continent on this matter. So we'll begin with a very profound question. Why are the youth of Africa, that category of people, always engaged in war? Why is it the youth and not anyone else but the youth? I'll begin with you, Deborah.
Okay, thank you very much. Why would somebody choose the youth over any other person to go stand in front of a war? It's because they believe they have that energy, they have that courage, they have that vision, and they are ready to do what they put their mind to. I would have taken any other person, but looking at what the youth carries, I strongly believe that taking the youth is the best option. Taking the youth is the best option, because taking an old man, he doesn't have that energy, he's so old. Even the courage to even stand there puts fear in him. But the youth will stand there and say, I want to stand for that cause. I'll fight for what I want to seek. So at all costs, taking the youth is the best option to be at the war front. Yeah.
Mama, do you find the use of the African youth as the tool for war, do you find it quite bizarre, or you think that we have something unique or special when it comes to things like that?
You know, the issue is that just as Deborah stated, the youth, we are desperate to achieve in life. So, and this is what our politicians understand about we the youth. So they sit down critically to understand what we want, then they put it before us. And once we are desperate to get there, we will do everything within our powers just to what? Fulfill the proposal in order to get where we want to be. So until we the youth get to understand that no, we have a better position in our societies rather than to be used for such dangerous activities, we are jeopardizing our future and the future of what? Africa. So I would want to charge the youth of Africa to understand our position in the society, not be used by politicians just to what? Ascertain their selfish interest, which goes a long way, just as I mentioned earlier, to jeopardizing our future.
You know, Africa has this agenda that we all should understand, that in the next 50 years, we want to attain a peaceful and secure Africa. And the document is called the Agenda 2060, Agenda 2063. And this agenda is very important with 7 aspirations, and it has driven Africa towards a peaceful and secure state. And that means that we should have everybody on board. And you mentioned earlier that youth have that kind of enthusiasm to drive anything. And that's why they are needed. But throw more light on the fact, who do we need at this point to drive peace and security in Africa?
Fortunately, it's still the youth. Because when you look at the position at which we find the youth, they can do anything. One thing we are supposed to realize is the youth can make and unmake a country. One thing we are supposed to realize is that. Sure. And then having the youth at the forefront of a war and what they can do is the same as having them to be those to bring up the peace we want to see in the country. So let's assume we have this number of people as being the youth, and then they come up and say that we have seen this thing go on in society for a very long time. We want to bring peace to the society. Should the youth sit down and say, we'll put up this plan A, plan B, plan C. We'll start with this. We'll start and then talk to the people of society. Tell them that we want to see this as the youth of the community. They've gone to them and then they tell them, this is our plan A. And they say, we'll try our best. But you know, Ghana, when you go to them, oh, I'm busy, I'll get back to you, I'm busy, I'll get back to you. They don't listen to it. Plan B, they go to plan B. The same thing. Oh, I want to work on it, but I've not really had time. Give me more time. The youth says, okay, we come to plan C. And it's the same. At that instance, the youth will take up an action. That is where you see the youth going in for war. But at that particular time, should the youth say that, okay, we want to mobilize people, talk to our fellow youth and tell them that this is going on, but we want to see that our country is peaceful due to this 2063 agenda. We want to make sure, we want to see our country at that level in 50 years' time or about 40 years' time. Definitely it will come to pass, because we are those who bring up the war, and we are those who bring up the peace we want to find. So having them at that side, they can still bring us the peace we want to see instead of the war we are thinking is going on in Africa as a continent. Yeah.
So let's talk about what really has been our problem, because we are always the ones spearheading these conflicts. What has been our need? What has actually inspired us to open ourselves to this manipulation?
It all zeroes down to poverty. So until the leadership of our various countries in Africa is able to roll out job opportunities that can get the youth engaged, that can put food on the tables of this youth, the youth would always, just as I stated earlier, we are always desperate to make it in life. So once there are roll-out initiatives that can help the youth to make it in life, to put food on their tables, I doubt if any youth will lay down his or her life just to be used by a politician for their selfish interest. So it is then in our interest to create job opportunities if the government is not doing that, because the government might not want to do that just because at the end of the day they would come back to use us. So if they create such jobs for us, we wouldn't be there for them to use us for their selfish interest. So if we are realizing that the government is not ruling out such job opportunities, we should be able to sit down, think outside the box. Let's get ourselves engaged. Let us do something that would create income for us, so that at the end of the day, you wouldn't sit there for a politician to come and promise you 100 Ghana cedis, then you would go out there and then commit any suicidal conflict in order to get food on your table. So we should be able to think as the youth, because we are desperate, we have the enthusiasm, we should invest that into our thinking. Let us not be used by these politicians for their selfish interests and not our interest, because at the end of the day, we are the end constituents who are going to suffer the consequences. So I would advise that as a youth, we shouldn't sit and ask what the government can do for us. We should rather sit and ask what we can do for the government. And until we, the youth, begins to think from this tangent, we would always be used by the politicians. So what I would advise is that let us charge ourselves as a youth. Let us come together as a united body, as Deborah mentioned. Let's think what we can do for our country, not to push the politicians' agendas. Because politics will come and go, but then Ghana and any other African country still remains.
Sure.
And at the end of the day, I tell you, we would be the very people to answer questions.
Okay. Okay. You know, just as true, 2 years ago we had war all over some parts of Africa, especially Somalia, destroying so much of their properties. And we'll have to go for a quick
When you launch, you will die.
Le Foesto. Le Foesto.
All right, then welcome back to African Student Voices, the hub for students, the voice of higher education in Africa, brought to you by AAU TV. And before we went for the pause, we watched the video of what happened in these war zone areas. After you've burned down your buildings, what was the next thing for you, African youth? So, Deborah, let's take it from there. When the youth are involved in all of these mayhem, now we have a country full of smoke, destroyed buildings. What do you think now is there for the youth when war has already taken place?
Okay, I would say it leaves the youth vulnerable at that point because we felt fighting is going to bring something productive. At the end, we lose everything. People are going to lose their lives, their properties. And then another thing is there's going to be lots of money in the sense that the government will have to put money in place to restructure the country again. And that is not a 1 year or 2 year process. It's a lifetime something. And then it doesn't help because economically you are losing. You are going to lose factories. They can't even produce to give the country money to even survive on. And then even when that happens, you can't have other countries trying to help you or donate to you. You even lose that opportunity. So with all this, you see that you get nothing at the end of the day. You lose everything you have. The good cordial relationship with other countries, the love, the friendship, you lose everything. And we stand to gain nothing as the usual. We go into these kind of ups and downs, thinking we can survive on that kind of life. It's not good.
Let's take it from
Very,
the issue
very
of
bad.
if a country had a life to live after war, how do you find a country's life? Is it dying or perhaps it can resurrect?
For that, it would still depend on those who led what happened before, because let me say the youth stood in front and then the country died. They had a life and then they died. It is the same youth that would stand up and then try to build it up. They can resurrect and they can die. They are two things altogether, depending on what kind of strategy they put in place to let it resurrect or they die. If I put things in place where I say that, okay, in the next 10 years, I want to see my country resurrect because of what happened, and then my plan is strong, we can come up. But if the plan is bad, I tell you, we will die and wouldn't come up again. That is what other African countries are going through, and then it's hell. It's hell.
You know, that's from the country point of view. Let's talk about the youth in particular. If young people, let's say in a country like Somalia, countries like Congo, Sierra Leone, who've been through war, how is the fate of these young people after the war? The world knows about it, and even some African countries know about it. What becomes the fate for these young people? Can they survive in the country, or what happens when they go to other countries?
We have seen a series of videos where the youth of these countries that have faced similar circumstances trying to go overseas, that is using through Libya and then trying to cross the sea. We've seen how such young men and then women losing their lives in the course of finding greener pastures at overseas just because their countries were involved in such instances.
Yeah.
So I must say that, just as Deborah mentioned, the youth is actually the brain behind the wars. And then if we are able to sit down as a youth to plan strategically, we can invite investors into our countries to see how best we can liberate our dying countries from that states.
You know, someone would say, I'm in my country, government has failed us. And passionately, a failed government deserves not to be even alive. We have to burn it down. And in the course of that, we end up destroying the whole country. What then is left for me when I have done all of this in my country? Is there any future that, okay, after this, I'm a freedom fighter? They say they are freedom fighters when you get to those things. What's your view on that?
The question should be, what can you do for the country? If the government has failed, what measures as an individual are you putting in to resolve that situation?
He fought to take him away.
But then that shouldn't be the right way, because you are jeopardizing your life and then your families and then the nation at large.
Okay.
There are better ways for us to sit and then to resolve these issues.
How better?
Just as Deborah mentioned earlier, we are the youth. We are innovative. We have the enthusiasm. I believe that as a youth, if we are able to come together as a united body, let's try as much as possible to think outside the box. Try to approach issues literally, but not the other way around that might lead us to our early death or jeopardize the future of our countries. So I believe if we are able to come out with strategic plans, put a proposal before the government. If the government is not willing to understand, we have NGOs who can make our voices be heard over other countries that might be willing to set in to help. We have the AAU, which always set into such African countries just to ensure that they help those countries liberate from their current state. So we shouldn't always resort to those measures. Just as you mentioned, we shouldn't call ourselves freedom fighters by picking guns and what have you, just to cause commotion. That shouldn't be the best way to resolve such issues. We should be able to resolve issues amicably. Let's sit down, bring our brains together, think outside the box. Let's ask questions. What as we the youth can do for our country? And if we begin to think from this tangent, I believe we the youth from Africa, the African society, can come up with reasonable thoughts that can help liberate our country, but not to resort to such.
Okay. So now let's come to peace building. Okay. We understand that peace isn't just a one-day thing. It's a daily process, an all-time process, trying to get minds together to consensus, where we don't do things forcefully, but with peace, there's we understand each other, we agree at a point together. In this case, as peace builders, African youth becoming peace builders, what are the elements that we should actually pick up to make us the youth very good peace builders?
Okay, first of all, before one can be a peace builder, they're supposed to understand what it means to see something as, what it means to be a peace builder, yes. Sure. And then peace building is a gradual process. We want to establish peace. That is the whole idea of being a peace builder. Sure. So here is a case where the African youth, we want to see ourselves as peace builders some time to come. The first thing we are supposed to do is ask ourselves that during those times where there was war and conflict, what brought about those things? What happened? Should we see what caused those things behind us? We can sit and then say that, okay, so with this problem, this is the solution. Yeah. Let's see, I go to a place where I realize that the youth are fighting because they feel there's unemployment. The cause that brought the conflict is unemployment. Yeah. So if I want to be a peace builder, I have to try and then create opportunity for people to get jobs. Sure. Create opportunity is not easy, but let them realize that they have something in them they can do. I can't just get a job, a white-collar job anywhere I go, but I can start up something. I can sell water and get money. I can learn how to sew. I can learn how to make beads. I can make a living out of that. So with that, I have cleared that point of unemployment from your life. I've helped you, and then now you are going to help others and then bring peace to the country. Because when there's peace, there's sound mind. When there is peace, we're able to live up and down freely, as in we have that kind of freedom in the country. That is one part. And then the other part is supposed to make sure that we put in programs that can train the literates who are also in that kind of attitude. Because if you don't give them the education they need, they wouldn't understand what it means to be a peace builder. I can say I'm going to the tertiary and then I have my degree. I feel I'm a big young lady, but I don't even understand what it means to be a peace builder. Yeah. I can put up programs or initiatives and then call all tertiary students to come together. When they come, we tell you we are trying to create a union or an association for peace builders alone. And then we want to teach you what it means to be a peace builder, what it takes to be a peace builder. We sit you down, tell you this is what you're supposed, this is what you can do, put up strategies down, and then they can pick up from there. Yeah. Those who have a vision for the country would want to take up that process. Sure. But those who feel like, I mean, the country we are in, I don't care what happens, they just sit back and watch. But we see peace as something we want to see in the 2063 agenda, we will definitely pursue that cause. Because seeing us in that peace will bring us joy. If I live in a country where there's no peace, I wouldn't want to be there. I'd want to leave to another country, forgetting that that same country has people that can bring about conflict. And we need the same youth to sit and then resolve that issue. She gets it. So basically it's about these little trainings we put them through that can make them understand that being a peace builder means a lot, and not just to benefit yourself, but the country as a whole. Yeah.
So, Hassan, looking at building peace and also creating the African youth environment where we can become peace ambassadors, what do you think are some of the things that we, as peace ambassadors, must understand?
When it comes to conflict, when you see yourself as a peace builder, and you have to understand how to analyze conflict. Okay. Because if I have an issue with Deborah, and you set in as a peace builder and you don't understand the fundamentals of what actually caused the problem, it will be difficult for you to set in to build peace between myself and then Deborah. Sure. So what I believe is that we should equip the youth with how to analyze these issues. Okay. It shouldn't be any other thing that you should just come in and then start to overreact. Okay. When there's an issue and you come in as a peace builder, you need to have the skills to analyze the issue properly. Okay. And when passing your judgment, you shouldn't have you shouldn't take side with any of the parties. You should just say it just as it is, but not take side with one party or the other. So one has to equip him or herself, that is with we the youth, we need to be equipped with such of these skills so that once we set in to build peace, we won't end up compounding the existing issues. Sure. So I believe to become peace builders, we need to have these requisite ideas as to how to venture into issues like this so that we don't end up compounding them. Okay.
Of late in the African continent, we find chieftaincy. Chieftaincy and politics is just infiltrating everything. Now, student politics is just getting on the surge. We find students not agreeing to one common understanding, and that is also a point of war. So, Deborah, you just handle that for us. How can we curb the issue of student politics as not turning around to become the time bomb for us, rather we find a way to do student politics in peace?
Okay, personally, I would say that the students, politicians as a whole, don't understand what it means to be a politician. Okay. In a sense that to be a politician doesn't mean you are in for the money.
You mean they've all got it wrong?
Yes, I would put it, most of them. Majority of them. Because looking at the trend in which they are moving, you can see that they come and then tell us, the ICRCs, that, okay, I want you to vote for me. When I come into power, I'll do this for you, do this for you. The SRCs are in to serve our main motion is to serve the students' body. Sure. You come up with a plan in line with us and we tell you, fine, you have our vote. You come into power and then we don't see anything as such. We see you doing otherwise. At that point, we feel you are not serving the people you want to serve. Yeah. You come in for your own selfish motives. Okay. And then that is not the best. Because if I want to be a politician, my motive is to serve my people. My motion is to serve my people, serve my nation as a whole. Yeah. Even though I'm human, I have personal, let me say, I have personal things I want to do for myself, but the nation is first. Sure. I want to serve them first. But the students' politicians have given us a different picture of all this. So I think the best way we can curb this is, first of all, student leaders should understand what it means to be a politician if you want to pursue the higher political level after tertiary.
Sure.
And then secondly, they have to sit and then think about what can make the country a peaceful one and make the country move on. Because if you have the country at heart, you wouldn't come into power and then do anything you want to do. Human beings have voted you into power, and then you come and then you make us feel left out. This social exclusion, it doesn't make us feel we have that kind of worth. So you come in and then you let us know that this is what you want to do. We give you your support. You come in and you are doing the same thing. We work in line with you. Why wouldn't that bring peace to the country? We'll all be working, and then if you have a default, we tell you that, okay, we have the solution. Just come in and we'll help you out. That brings peace. But where you come in and then you do otherwise, it doesn't help. And then thirdly, there should be programs, or let me say, trainings for student leaders who are into politics. That is, those who are experienced at the high level should sit student leaders down, talk to them, make them understand what it means to be a student leader, and then aspire for that dream to be a politician in the future. Should they get all these kind of trainings, it will make them understand and know what to do as a student leader to avoid these chaos that wouldn't bring peace to the country. Yeah, basically. Yeah.
Okay, so Hassan, you can wrap that up with the chieftains in a bit of the student policies.
Talking about the student politicians, I entirely don't blame the leader themselves, but then I turn out to blame the voters. Because if I want to be the SRC president for Islamic University College, and I walk up to you as a voter, as a student, and you turn out to say, if you don't give me this, I wouldn't vote for you. So now I am buying your vote. So after ascertaining your vote, I am no longer accountable to you. So until the voters stop demanding monies from student leaders before they give them their votes, student leaders would always do otherwise after taking the mantle of leadership. So we the students as voters should refrain from asking for such favors from student leaders. Because once you ask him or her to give you something, there's no way you can hold him or her accountable, because you sold your vote out to the person. So I would charge we the voters to stop taking money from them, so that at the end of the day, when they are not performing, you can hold him or her responsible.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. So that's perfect. That's true. I think that's where time can afford us when it comes to turning the youth to peace builders. We made a point very well from Deborah and Hassan that it's all about the youth. We have to understand our future. We need to secure ourselves from political infiltration, and also voters, student voters, stop demanding so much from candidates. If you do that and they're unable to fulfill them, then perhaps you come after them in conflict, and that wouldn't help. Thank you very much for your time. I believe you spent so much of time watching. Do well to send in your comments, questions, and any inquiries to the contact you see on the screen. It is African Student Voices, brought to you by the Association of African Universities, and I was your host today, Ajimwa Chudako. Thank you, Deborah, and thank you, Hassan, for coming. God bless you for watching. Take care. Bye.
Are you an institution or individual? Do you intend to organize a memorable event to be archived for future reference? Then look no further than AAU Studios, because it's your best bet with our spacious studio and state-of-the-art media equipment such as 4K Panasonic video cameras, KinoFlow lights, assorted microphones, live streaming equipment, among others. You are sure to get the best of productions. Visit us at Trinity Avenue, East Legon, adjacent the National Accreditation Board, or contact the AAU Studios via the following email addresses: info@aau.org, AAUTV@aau.org, or ransford@aau.org. Alternatively, you can call us on +233 244 736280.
October is here again, and as you know, it is World Breast Cancer Awareness Month. You're welcome to Health Africa, your favorite health show on television today, and it is brought to you by the Association of African Universities. Each year, this month is dedicated to creating awareness about the importance of breast cancer detection. And today we are here to talk and focus on some of the risk factors associated with breast cancer. My name is Isabella Teta Henakwa. Please stay tuned and we'll be right back. You're welcome back from the break. This is still Health Africa, your favorite health show on television today. As I said earlier, today we are going to talk about some of the risk factors associated with breast cancer, which is menopause. And I'm here with a beautiful lady. I'm going to give you an opportunity to introduce yourself to us. Hello, Miss Gina.
Hello.
You're welcome to Health Africa.
Thank you.
Okay, so before we start with the discussion, I'd like you to introduce yourself to our viewers.
Okay, so my name is Georgina Asari, and I'm a physician assistant currently working at Trauma and Specialist Hospital.
Okay, you're welcome once again.
Thank you.
Well, October is the month for breast cancer,
Yeah.
and as usual, we are here to talk about breast cancer. But before we start, I would like you to briefly tell us in a layman's term what breast cancer actually is.
Okay, so before we go to what breast cancer actually is, we need to understand certain basic things before we can discuss what breast cancer is. So we'll talk about what a cell is. So a cell is a basic unit of life which helps in everyday activities like processing the food we eat to give us energy and help us continue with our everyday activities. So when these cells are found in every part of our bodies. So when these cells grow abnormally, they're supposed to grow, eventually die off, and new ones to be produced. But when these cells do not die off for new ones to be produced and they keep on growing, they tend to invade other parts of the bodies. And wherever these cells are and do not die, they are termed as cancer cells. So when these cancer cells are found in the breast, that is what we term as breast cancer.
So the breast cancer cells that are not dead.
That are not dying.
Okay, they are not dying.
Yes, there are normal cells in the body that are not dying.
Okay.
So they tend to increase in number and invade other parts of the body.
Okay. Do they infect other cells?
They do not actually infect other cells, but then these cells grow into other parts of the body.
All right, okay. Now, I'd like to know some of the risk factors. Today, we are here to talk about some. So tell us some of the risk factors and the causes of breast cancer.
Okay, so the cause of a cancer is actually not known. We don't actually know what is causing the cancer, but then we know the risk factors which will cause this breast cancer. So as far as you're a woman, you are at risk of getting breast cancer. Okay. And if you have a personal history of breast cancer, so if you had a previous breast cancer and it has been removed, you can't get the breast cancer again. Yes. And if you have a family history of breast cancer, so let's say your mother has breast cancer, and any of your aunties has breast cancer, you are likely, and any of your siblings having breast cancer, you're also at risk of breast cancer. And then early menarche, that means having your menses at a very early age, before 15 years, you are at risk of breast cancer. And when you have your menopause at a very late age, you are at risk of breast cancer. And your race, the fact that you're an African, you are also at risk of breast cancer.
This is racist though.
No, it's not racist. So you have certain diseases that can affect the African race and certain diseases that can affect the Asian race. So depending on your race and the kind of condition that is likely to affect you.
All right, okay. Now, let's move to the symptoms of breast cancer. We've been told that you need to, when you start feeling a nerves or a numb in the breast, that's when you have a breast cancer. Aside that, are there other symptoms of breast cancer?
So the fact that you are feeling a lump in your breast doesn't mean you have breast cancer.
All right, okay.
So first of all, you have to examine yourself. So as a woman, you can admire your body. There's nothing wrong with admiring your body every day in the mirror. So as you look at your body, you look at your breast. So when you look at your breast, you may realize that one breast looks bigger than the other. So when you realize that, that is an indication, or that should prompt you to see your physician. Yes. And another symptom of breast cancer is you may see something we call podorange. That's orange peel. So you may see some dimplings on your breast. So that's also an indication of breast cancer. And then you may also realize that there is some discharges from your breast. So it can be a bloody discharge or a milky discharge in a non-lactating mother. So if you are lactating or you are giving breast milk, it's normal to have. But if you are not giving breast milk to a baby, then
there's a problem.
Yes, there's a problem. And also you may realize some swelling, like a boil-like swelling in your armpits. The breast actually extends way to your armpit or your axilla. So you may realize some swellings there. So that should prompt you to see your physician. Oh, and also the lump, as you said. But the fact that you are seeing a lump in your breast doesn't mean you have breast cancer. There are other conditions that may cause you having the lump in your breast. So when you realize that, the first thing to do is to go for your screening at any health facility. And also we do some tests we call the mammograph. So this mammograph would indicate whether you have a breast cancer or it's just a normal fibroadenoma. That's a swelling in the breast. Usually normal. We just give you some pain relief to relieve the pain. So yeah, when you do that, and it's detected you have a breast cancer, we don't just start the treatment. We go on to do something called a fine needle aspiration or biopsy. Then we know the kind of breast cancer or the stage you are in. Then we know what to do next.
Now, getting to know the stage you are, as you said, actually tells how serious the breast cancer is.
Yes, sure.
I'd like to know some of the stages of breast cancer.
Okay, so as I said, when we do the fine needle biopsy, the pathologist will indicate the stage you are in. So we have the cancer stages being 0 to 4, and we do something we call the anatomical and the pathological staging to know the kind of stage you are in. So when in the stage 0 is not really a problem. So stage 1, stage 2, stage 3, then stage 4.
Stage 4.
Yes.
That's the highest.
That's the highest. So depending on the stage of cancer you have and the kind of treatment you may give you. So some people will tell you that, oh, when you have a breast cancer, that means you are going to take off your whole breast. You may lose one breast. So then I won't go. I'd rather do a herbal treatment. That is very wrong. So let's say when you're at stage 0, we'll just do a resection of the breast and take out that cell, the tumor from your breast, and you are free to go. You have both breasts. So sometimes you may have to remove the whole breast. Sometimes you have to remove both breasts.
Both?
Yes. So it will depend on the stage you are in, then what we would do.
Why would you remove, what is it going to affect the other breast? That's why you're going to take both breasts out?
Yes, sometimes if the the cancer cell has gone very far, we will have no option than to
take out.
Yes. Have a resection of both breasts. That will be the last stage actually. Then you do your chemo to prevent it from spreading to other parts of the body.
Okay, so it can even spread to the armpits.
Everywhere. To your heart, to your liver, your ovaries.
And that's also another name for it.
Yes, please.
Alright, okay. Now, let's move to menopause, as you mentioned, as a risk factor. I'd like you to tell us what menopause is. Is it when you don't menstruate anymore, or there are other definitions for that?
Okay. So as a female, as a woman, in your adolescence, you start experiencing what we call monthly flow of blood. That's produced by your body. So your body has what you call ovaries. So the ovaries are supposed to help with that production of the blood and all those things, and it will result in the shedding of the uterine lining. If you don't get pregnant at the end of the month, it will result in menstruation. So when this menstruation is occurring, occurs every month for a period of time. When you have your first menses, we term it as menarche.
That's the first.
Your first menses. So it can be any age. Sometimes there's an early onset, that's before 15 years. Sometimes it can be a late onset. Some people can go as far as 18 years before they experience their menses. And all that is termed as the menarche, as I previously said. So when you experience your menarche, you have this monthly flow of blood until you are about 45 to about 50 years, depending on your lifestyle. That's when you start experiencing your menopause. But the menopause doesn't start at once. It gives you signals. So as you approach that age
45,
that 45 to 50 years, you begin to see certain signs. So you may not have your menses this month. It may come the following month, probably a day or two. Then it gradually decreases. So that's how it happens. Then, so after 12 consecutive months, if the blood doesn't come anymore, then we can say you have menopause.
And you're not going to menstruate anymore.
Again.
And do men have menopause? Do they experience menopause?
Okay. We term it as andropause. Andropause.
And what's
so andropause is a term used for decreased level of testosterone in men. So when their testosterone level is reduced, we term it as andropause. And they have similar symptoms like menopause. But luckily for andropause, when the symptoms is seen on time, we can reduce the rate at which is speeding up. So when a man reaches the age of 40, the testosterone level reduces 10%.
What's the testosterone level? What are you mentioning? What is that? Is it the sperm
It's
level?
a hormone. It's a hormone in the body, which is responsible for the sexual activities or the sexual activities of men. So when it begins to reduce, they have low libido. That's reduce sexual feelings for sex. Reduce feelings for sex. Yes.
Before we go for a quick break, I know there are two types of menopause: the premature menopause and then the late onset menopause. Can you tell us the differences between these two?
Okay, so the premature onset of menopause is when a woman reaches her menopause before the age of 45 years. And the late onset is when a woman has her period or her menses till about 55 years before the menopause sets in.
Okay.
Yes.
And then what causes that?
Okay, so for the premature onset of menopause, some breast cancer treatment can cause it. So these breast cancer treatments, like the chemotherapy, will end up affecting the ovaries, which is responsible for the production of the estrogen. Yes.
And then
which is the estrogen is responsible for the female sexual characteristics. So when anything that will affect the ovaries, so it can be an ovarian cyst or ovarian tumor or the surgical removal of the ovaries can result in premature menopause. And certain lifestyles like smoking can result in premature menopause.
How about the late onset? What causes that too?
The late onset, the cause is actually not known. But yes.
We are going for a quick break. When we come back, we'll continue with the discussion. If you just tune in, you can follow this discussion on our social media handles, Association of African Universities on Facebook and YouTube, and AAU TV Official on Instagram.
Are you an institution or individual? Do you intend to organize a memorable event to be archived for future reference? Then look no further than AAU Studios, because it's your best bet with our spacious studio and state-of-the-art media equipment such as 4K Panasonic video cameras, KinoFlow lights, assorted microphones, live streaming equipment, among others. you are sure to get the best of productions. Visit us at Trinity Avenue, East Legon, adjacent the National Accreditation Board, or contact the AAU studios via the following email addresses: info@aau.org, AAUTV@aau.org, or ransford@aau.org. Alternatively, you can call us on +233 244 736280.
You're welcome back from the break. This is still Health Africa, your favorite health show on television today, brought to you by the Association of African Universities. We are here talking about breast cancer and menopause with Miss Gina. And before we went for the break, she's enlightening us on what breast cancer is and what menopause is. Now we are going to look at the connection between these two. Miss Gina.
Yes.
You're welcome back.
Thank you.
Now, kindly tell us the relationship or the connection between menopause and then breast cancer. Menopause is a factor, is a risk factor for associated with breast cancer. How is that connected?
Okay, so with menopause, when a woman reaches her menopause, her estrogen level, which is a hormone in her body, which is responsible for the female sexual characteristics, begins to reduce. Begins to reduce. So when this happens, the woman is likely not to have breast cancer. Okay. So with the late onset of menopause, as I said initially, they are exposed to this estrogen for a very long time. So they are likely to get breast cancer.
They are likely to get breast cancer. Of the premature.
So when you have the premature onset of menopause, the estrogen level reduces. And when this happens, you are not at risk.
Okay.
So this breast cancer is associated with an increase in the estrogen level. So when you have a high estrogen level, you are at risk of getting breast cancer.
Okay. So those with the late onset,
yes,
they are they are likely to get breast cancer.
Yes.
Right. Now, with breast cancer, what are some of the various treatments? When, let's say I have a breast cancer and I go to the hospital, what are some of the, according to the stages, right? So what are some of the treatments for breast cancer?
So the treatment is, we have two procedures. That is a surgical removal of the breast.
Okay.
So with that, we will resect the affected breast. So when the staging of the cancer has been known by a physician, you will know whether to just take out the tumor that is causing the breast cancer, whether to resect the whole breast. And sometimes you resect the breast.
Resect as in cuts?
Yes, you have it surgically removed, but you still have to do a chemotherapy. That's because the cells has probably spread to other parts of the body, or when the breast was removed, not all the cells were able to be removed. Yeah, so we need to have the chemotherapy to kill all the cancer cells.
Now, what is the chemotherapy? How is it done?
Chemo, you undergo certain radiations that your chemotherapist will indicate for you.
Now, you made mention that there are 0 to 4 stages of the breast cancer. So let's say I have I'm in the 0 stage. What is the treatment for me?
So that one will just resect the tumor.
Okay.
Because it hasn't spread to other parts of the body. It's just at one place. So we just take the tumor out.
And can't I take any medicine for it?
No, there's no oral therapy for breast cancer. So if we are told that there's this herbal medication that will help you with breast cancer, please, it's a lie. There's nothing like melting the lump or melting the cancer cell.
All right, okay. Now, can you tell us what men and women can do to reduce their risk for getting breast cancer?
Okay, so the first thing is to examine yourself. You are the individual. So examine yourself every time. And when you realize there's something wrong with your breast, just see your physician. And if you smoke, you have to quit smoking. Yes, that will also help you. If you are obese, you have to live a very healthy life to help prevent all these cancers, all these unnecessary illnesses. Yes, and when you realize you have a family line of breast cancer, please do well to go for regular screenings. This will help with the early detection of the breast cancer.
And I actually forgot to ask this. Can treatment for breast cancer actually cause menopausal symptoms?
Yes, some treatments like the chemotherapy, as I said, can affect your ovaries. And when this happens, your estrogen level goes away. And sometimes the cancer would have spread to your ovaries. So we have no option than to
take it out,
remove the ovaries. And this will cause menopausal symptoms. When that happens, you are put on an estrogen therapy. So let's say if I'm 20 years, I have breast cancer that has spread, which will require my removal of my ovaries. We will put you on your estrogen therapy.
End this discussion. I'd like you to say a word to our viewers. This month is breast cancer awareness. So just say something to our viewers.
Alright, sure. So October is pink, like we already know, and the government has given us this month to create awareness of breast cancer. So as a woman, take advantage of it. Visit all health facilities and get your breast examined, so that if there's any problem, if you are likely to be at risk of breast cancer, you'll be detected very early. And when you are told you have a lump in your breast, or when you realize you have a lump in your breast, that doesn't mean you have breast cancer. Do well to see your physician so that the necessary procedures are being done, so that you have a healthy life, you live a normal life. And when you are told you have breast cancer, that's not the end of the world. You can have it removed and you'll be alive and have a beautiful life. So yes, breast cancer is curable only when it's detected at a very early stage. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Miss Jenna. And I would like to invite you again on breast cancer or any other topic.
Alright, sure.
We've come to an end of today's discussion, which is menopause as a risk factor associated with breast cancer with Miss Jenna. And as she said, breast cancer is curable, so it's best you go and then you check yourself up so that in case it is detected earlier, it can be cured. My name is Isabella Hinakwa, and this is Health Africa, your favorite health show on television today. If you just tuned in, you can follow the discussion on our social media handles, Association of African Universities on Facebook and YouTube, and AATV Official on Instagram. Bye.
Are you an institution or individual? Do you intend to organize a memorable event to be archived for future reference? Then look no further than AAU Studios, because it's your best bet with our spacious studio and state-of-the-art media equipment such as 4K Panasonic video cameras, KinoFlow lights, assorted microphones, live streaming equipment, among others. You are sure to get the best of productions. Visit us at Trinity Avenue, East Legon, adjacent the National Accreditation Board, or contact the AAU Studios via the following email addresses: info@aau.org, AAUTV@aau.org, or ransford@aau.org. Alternatively, you can call us on +233 244 736280. The Association of African Universities, AAU, is an international non-governmental organization set up by universities in Africa to promote cooperation among themselves and the international academic community.
Mon nom est professeur Étienne Ehouan-Eilé. Je suis le secrétaire général de l'Association des universités africaines qui est basée à Accra, au Ghana. Je vais vous parler de la création de l'Association des universités africaine. Il faut remonter dans les années 60 pour pouvoir comprendre le processus. Déjà en 1960, nos dirigeants estimaient que l'éducation est l'outil majeur pour pouvoir lutter contre la pauvreté et assurer le développement.
I am Nodumo Dlamini. I'm the Director of ICT Services and Knowledge Management at the Association of African Universities. The Association of African Universities is a network of 400 universities in Africa. The biggest value that the universities benefit from being members of the association is this big platform that allows them to collaborate, allows them to work together, allows them to teach together. Through this platform, a university in North Africa can work with a university in Southern Africa, and also those in East Africa can work with those in West Africa.
Founded November 1967 at a conference in Rabat, Morocco, by heads of African higher education institutions, the association is currently headquartered in Accra, Ghana.
My name is Maxwell Amohoit. I'm the Director of Finance of the Association of African Universities. The association sustains itself from contributions from member universities and also from other development partners. Some of our development partners include the World Bank, other governmental agencies like the Swedish International Development Agency, UK Department for International Development, and other partners. We also receive a lot of support from other governments, especially the government of Ghana. Other partners include the African Union, which is more or less the parent organization of the Association of African Universities. The Association of African Universities hosts the Secretariat for the African Union's Continental Education Strategy. And by so doing, we provide coordinating roles for the African Union in helping members achieve their targets.
Déjà en 1960, nos dirigeants estimaient que l'éducation est l'outil majeur pour pouvoir lutter contre la pauvreté et assurer le développement. Et rappelons-nous que les années 60, la décade 60, a été une décade où la plupart des pays africains ont obtenu leur indépendance ou ont, disons, pris les dispositions pour être indépendants. C'était donc aussi l'année de développement, dans la mesure où tous ces pays indépendants devaient se retrouver de temps en temps pour parler de comment mettre ensemble leurs problèmes et trouver une solution commune à leurs problèmes. Et dans ce contexte-là, l'éducation était une priorité pour eux, surtout l'éducation universitaire. Et sur ce plan-là, les universités aussi se sont organisées grâce à l'UNESCO qui a parrainé plusieurs réunions depuis Madagascar jusqu'au Maroc.
My name is Jonathan Umba. I'm the Director of Research and Academic Planning. The programs and projects that we run at AAU are consistent with our strategic plan, and they are implemented for our higher education stakeholders, namely the higher education institutions in Africa. These programs are implemented in such a way that our stakeholders will get the benefit of membership of our association. And our programs also are aligned with a number of global and international agendas on higher education, including the Continental Education Strategy for Africa and the Agenda 2063. So these programs are aligned with a number of international agendas with a view to promoting higher education in Africa.
The AAU is the apex organization and principal forum for consultation, exchange of information, and cooperation among universities in Africa.
I am Professor Nkusa Mahao, Vice Chancellor of the National University of Lesotho in the Kingdom of Lesotho in Southern Africa. There are roughly 77 universities that are affiliated with the AAU in the region. But as you might be aware, there are a lot more universities that are as yet to take the membership of the Association of African Universities. Well, universities that are not members of the AAU are missing quite a lot. First of all, let's appreciate this one point, that the AAU is a main driver from the angle of training and capacitating the human resources of the continent, the agenda of the African Union 2063. So if an institution is not on board, it is missing the opportunity to leverage on the opportunities that are provided by the association in the area of training human resource capital, training their own staff and students, the opportunities that are provided by the universalization of quality management on higher education on the continent, and many other opportunities that are provided.
Et en 1963, il y a eu une réunion à Khartoum, au Soudan, où les chefs des institutions d'enseignement supérieur ont décidé de créer l'Association des universités africaines. Finalement, la création va se faire à une conférence qui s'est tenue à Rabat au Maroc, et la création de l'Association des universités africaines a eu lieu le 12 novembre 1967.
I'm Prof. Hassan Kafi, AAU Governing Board member, representing for East African region. Also, I am the president of Plasma University, Mogadishu, Somalia. We really like to give a call for universities in Africa, especially in East Africa, those which are not members still in the Association of African Universities. We are calling them because we feel the organization is ours. It represents the voice of higher education in Africa being seen all over the world.
This is a car, right? I mean, for us in Africa, this is too small to be a car, but it's a car, honestly. And this is what? This is a cyclist on his bicycle.
White cycle.
Well. And this is another car. What is this driver? What did he do?
He noticed the door is open, so he's looking behind and he's going to run into the...
Okay. Now, this door is open and this door is also open. Now you can complete the story. What do you think happened after this? Possibly. Yeah, so we imagine this guy ran into this guy and there was an accident. What caused this accident? Which of them really is the cause of this accident?
The door, no. The white man is not talking.
The guy on the bike is not watching.
Where is he?
I hope you know that if we don't resolve this problem, today we sleep here. Because this is a matter of importance and, this is safety and security. So who are we blaming here for this accident?
I think the bike.
Yes. Yes, Rahila.
Yes, sir. The guy on the bike
Mm-hmm.
should be blamed.
Mm-hmm.
But he's not watching while riding.
Okay.
And this other...
Rahila is going to blame this bike man. He will pull the bike man down, pull out, they call it kiboko in Swahili. We call it koboko here. Yeah. Yeah, these are Arabic words. So she's going to flog with kiboko or koboko. This thing. Yeah, the bike man. Yes, Moses.
I will blame the bike man because he's responsible for his own life. Yes, he's responsible for his life. He should be watchful. He shouldn't keep his life on somebody's hand.
All right.
You are not sure how the person will take it.
All right. Yeah, nobody should be surprised. I mean, we all know what Moses did to Pharaoh. So that this kind of suggestion is coming from Moses is perfectly in order. Take your own life in your hand. If you go and fall into River Egypt, River Nile, that's your headache. Okay, how many people will blame the bike man? Okay, all right. All right. Whom will you blame, Sheung?
Well, it's the car that's open, like this second car.
This one?
Yes, the first one is the independence to me. It's the independence variable.
How is it the cause of the accident?
Well, if it had not been there wouldn't have been
Any need to look back.
Hey.
All right. But it may also be that this guy hasn't read about Lot's wife. So that is another reason that we are going to blame. Okay. Are we seeing how something that is on the surface simple can really get complicated? Now, who is going to blame this guy here? Which is your surname? Because now the way the surnames are transposed.
Okay, the surnames are likely.
Okay, so Tunde, Baba Tunde.
Yes, sir.
Why would you blame the?
By the time you want to open the door.
What? At least you look back.
Yes.
I mean, it's not. Yeah. So, all right. Now let us untangle this a little bit. This is what we are saying. Sometimes, for an outcome to be produced, different independent factors have to work together. If this guy was not there, as innocent as his case appears to be, if this guy was not there, I don't know, but somehow, my first impression is there probably was a lady here that this guy, how men and ladies behave. Now, but if this car was not here, this man would not be looking back. If he did not look back, he would see this guy, even if this guy was there and the door was open. Right? Now, so this guy has to be here. This guy had to look back. This guy had to open the door. All these three have to be present for the accident to happen. Remove one of them, and there will not have been an accident. Let me check her name. Yes, Moses.
The cyclists are concentrated.
Yes.
Despite those two, there may not.
That is what we are saying. No, that is what we are saying. That is the point we are saying. Now let's bring this to let's bring this to real life. Well, that's also real life situation. Do you know that many times we concentrate in our policy, we take members of staff of an organization and we begin to spend money training them, as if training alone will lead to better performance. But if we are careful, we know that this training has to be complemented by a better reward system, has to be complemented by the necessary equipment and tools they need. If all of these three, if one is missing. So when this happens, we say what we have is conjunctural causation or conjunctural causality. Separate factors working together to produce an outcome. One working alone will not produce that outcome. Two working out instead of three instead of four may not produce that outcome. So it is not in every situation that an outcome is the product of just one singular X. there may be 2, 3 X's working together. A parked car with open door, with a good-looking babe inside it, a cyclist whose head is not in the right position, and then another car whose door is open, with a driver careless enough to open the door without checking if anybody was there. So all these 3 has to be there. And the implication for policy is we have got to be sensitive to the multiplicity of X's that may be at work in a particular situation. This is a study conducted by Susan here, Susan Kilonzo, our own Susan, Kenyan Susan. And she found that this is a study about devolution, power going down to, and she found that devolved decision making plus free maternal care plus community sensitization led to increased access to referral services. All these 3 were present to lead to this outcome. Imagine, what do you think will happen if there is devolved decision making? Now, government at the lower level are now free to make decisions about health, yes. But then, maternal care was not free. Would people in the same number access referral services? No. They will say, once you refer me, I know I'm going to pay more. I will go home and pray. Then your neighbor will say, if I was going to tell you, the other day when my husband when we pray like this, So, that is not going to lead to this. All these 3 have to be there. Maybe this will also apply to our trader money. Money without checks and balances, without entrepreneurial training, may not be able to lead to business growth. Maybe. I'm just guessing. This is a hypothetical example. A driver that was speeding. Oh, no. A driver that was speeding. This accident is our outcome, is our why. How did it happen? A driver was speeding, then elephants were crossing the road. What usually crosses the road in most of our African countries? It's not elephant. It's cattle. For us, if a goat crosses, that's okay. Then this guy pressed the brake, but then there was brake failure. And an oncoming vehicle, in other words, cannot go to the other side of the road. So this accident happened. This is a hypothetical example. I think we always want to emphasize the fact that in some cases, there is a multiplicity of X, but in our policy recommendations, we now say it as if you do just this one thing, it will happen. Just make insecticide-treated nets, just make these nets free for women. And then pediatric malaria will go down. That's most cases can be too simplistic, and it may not work. So we have conjunctural causality. Sometimes what we have is not these different factors working together. We may have a situation where separately and independently, each factor is capable of producing that outcome. We say all road leads to Rome. It can be London sometimes. And this is just like one way of illustrating that. So this is people from, which part of the world is this? I know this place. This is Australia or New Zealand. Doesn't matter. So from Australia, so you land in Rome. From Lagos, Abuja, Rome. Each of these routes is capable of taking people to Rome without necessarily working with the other. And when we have that, we have what we call equifinality, equal destination, kind of, equal final outcomes. And this is an illustration. What is responsible for high level of poverty in some African states? Let's say this is. And this says economic recession alone does produce poverty. War alone can produce poverty. Corruption alone can produce poverty. So all the three do not have to be present for poverty to occur. This is an illustration. Maybe it's not a completely perfect one, but it's just to say this may be what we are finding, what our data, it may be the shape or the message that our data will throw up. When this happens, we call it equifinality. Equal ending, I think so. Equal final. Something like that. Yes, Perpetua.
Finding it difficult to now differentiate this diagram and that of conjunctural.
Yeah, okay. They very much look alike, I must say, but there is only one difference. And what is that difference? Yes. These are quantitative people. They see diagrams. They are used to diagrams. Yes, Crispin.
Okay, the first time. Okay.
Yeah, you got it.
The same message is very true. The difference is that if you take away one,
yes,
poverty will still okay without.
Yeah.
But on the earlier examples, if you take away one, the outcome
will. Yeah. Thank you. Okay, thank you very much. I think that is in conjunctural they conjoin. Yeah, in this one, each is capable on its own of producing. To a laywoman. Okay, very good. Another pattern that we may find is what is called path dependence. Path dependence simply means some factors occurred in the past and they are responsible for the situation we have in the present. And so, if we want to understand behavior, if we want to understand situations, if we want to understand outcomes now, we need to go back to one thing, one decision, one event, some kind of thing that happened in the past in order to understand what the present is about. And if we want to undo or to solve the problem here, we do not look here, because that knot was tied by some event some time ago. And we look at this diagram, for instance. Here you see a pattern, like these independent stars or particles. But as time moves on, the variety seems to begin to converge somewhere around the middle. We just say phase 1, and then we have phase 2. Somewhere along this line, there is a lock-in, to the point that all these stars now continue to behave like this. In some situations, the reality is just like that. And if we don't understand what has happened in the past, we cannot explain why these things continue to be like this. If you like, keep throwing the different stars. Put one up here, it will come and settle here. Tie one here, it will find its way and go here. Because certain things have happened in the past that now predispose this version of QWERTY. But even assertive means nothing. I mean, I would be say if you start with A, B, C, D, E, then we say, okay, it follows alphabetical arrangement. But There is no language that begins with letter Q followed by W. But some arrangement, some decision, some convenience elsewhere then led to that. Now, you and I buy phones today, which is like 500 years older than this. But then they still follow the keyboard pattern, still follow the same. Yes, no. I know you can do something, you can download keyboard with ABCD now that most people use. But you buy a laptop today, no, the ultra modern, the most expensive of them, like Remy's laptop. He spent a lot of money buying that thing. He still came with this confused keyboard. So, but why? Why won't keyboards change? Why won't people say, oh, come, let's sit down and change this thing? It's like, that is the way, it's okay. That is the way it has always been. So it's not even our decision. It's the decision of our ancestors. I mean, I'm making us to feel good because really, I don't think my ancestors even used this. So that is an example. But some more, other situations can just, you can't understand the outcome or whatever you are seeing here. It is not a product of now. It's a product of something that happened somewhere centuries ago, or maybe not that many years ago. One major implication of path dependence for policy, I'm sure it is clear. I'm sure we can guess what the implication of path dependence for policy is.